On today's Fast Friday, bulb mode. Hi everyone and welcome to Pal to Tech. Today we are talking about bulb mode. That's the little B located right here on the shutter speed dial on Fujifilm cameras. And what it allows you to do is to keep the shutter release wide open as long as you are holding down the shutter release button. As long as you're holding it down, the shutter will stay open. It goes without saying that you are obviously going to want to use a tripod anytime that you use bulb mode. And you're probably not going to want to sit there holding down that shutter release button for too long. And that's why they have third-party cable release accessories that will do the same thing and hold down the button more accurately and safer than you could with your finger. The official one from Fujifilm is this right here. It's called the RR90. It plugs right into the camera and has this switch right here where if you press and are holding it down and your camera is in bulb mode, then the shutter will remain open. But what's nice is that you can lock it open just like this, and your shutter will remain open, so you could walk away, go get a burger, come back and find maybe your camera missing. Don't do that. By the way, the reason it's called bulb mode and has the little B right here is because that dates back to a time when photographers actually had to use a rubber bulb like this, and they would squeeze it and it would force air into the camera's shutter mechanism, and as long as they were holding it down, the camera's shutter would remain open. So what would you use the bulb setting for anyway? Well, obviously low light, night photography, and doing light trails and sort of experimental stuff. It's actually a lot of fun. So let's try this right now live in the studio with just the camera in bulb mode and this lighter, okay? Got the camera positioned where I want to be. I've got the remote release right here. I've got my little lighter. The only thing that's really on right now is Hal. Hal, please turn yourself off.
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to open up the shutter. Shutter is open. Okay, let's see what we got. Have a look at that. I even made a smiley face. That was pretty cool. I just used my X-T5 on bulb mode, a little bit of flame here. Let your imagination run wild. And if you come up with something that you want to share, post it on social media, tag Pal to Tech. I would love to see what you come up with. There is no limit to your creativity, either in bulb mode or anything else. Now, I have a couple of specific things to go over for Fujifilm cameras using bulb mode. First off, if you put it in bulb mode, and then you press and hold down on the shutter release button while you're using it, the maximum amount of time that you're allowed to stand there and do that, according to the camera, is 60 minutes. After that, the shutter will close and it's game over. In other words, using your finger, holding down shutter, 60 minutes maximum. If you want to go longer than that, you're going to need to use a shutter release mechanism like this one. Something else to keep in mind is that some models of Fujifilm cameras will combine the microphone port with the remote release port, and you'll need to tell the camera which one you're using, and you go into the menu to do that. The second thing that you need to know is something I call aperture bulb weirdness on Fujifilm cameras. Here's how it works. If you have your aperture set to A for automatic and you're using bulb mode, the camera will not allow you to go over 30 seconds. It'll restrict it exactly to 30 seconds, and actually it'll do a countdown. Check this out. I've got my aperture set to A. I'm in bulb mode. I'm going to go ahead and press and hold down the shutter release button. Here we go. Have a look at that. 30 seconds tops. And you see how it's counting down? Even if you let go, you're no longer in control. Camera's still counting down. In fact, the only way to get out of this is to rotate the aperture ring to get out of automatic. I'll rotate the aperture ring now. And it cleared. A little weird, but something you should know. And third, if you're going to be shooting wide open shutter for long periods of time, consider going into the IQ menu and enabling long exposure noise reduction. You see that right here? Supposedly, that helps reduce noise. To be perfectly honest with you, I've not seen a whole lot of difference with it, and a big issue in using it is that the camera will take twice as long to take the shot, meaning that if you hold down the shutter release button for your shot and it's, say, 60 seconds, the camera's going to need an additional 60 seconds to run the noise reduction setting. And lastly, I have another tip for you in that you don't necessarily need to use the bulb mode if you expect to keep your shutter open for less than 15 minutes. If that is the case, put your shutter dial into T. You see that right here? And once you do that, rotate the rear command dial, and you can change your shutter speed settings, and you can keep the shutter open all the way up to 15 minutes. And another little trick you can do is set the self timer on the camera for something like maybe 2 seconds. So now you don't need to worry about bulb mode. You don't need one of these. You simply get the camera ready, press down on the button, boom, it waits 2 seconds, and starts the shot, and it will remain open for whatever you put in here. In this case, 15 minutes. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I wanted to go over a few more things, but I wanted to keep it short. Plus, yesterday we had the Fuji announcement. I have a new Gear Iguana member to announce. Lots of stuff to go over. We'll do it next week. I am going to be signing off now, but have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in a new video next week. Take care.